Hi, everyone. So I am the talk that we were supposed to be 4 people. As you can see, it's only me today. They had very good reasons not to be here. But yeah, I will try to share their stories of what they wanted to say here through my voice. So I'm Mafalda Barata. I'm an interaction designer and product designer at a design system team at OutSystems. And today I'm going to talk about finding balance and all of the great things that can come from, just losing balance. Because losing balance, it's part of the journey of being in a team. Oh, is it working? It is not. Just picture someone falling over on this GIF, I guess. That is okay. Let's see if the other GIFs will work. Okay, so last year, there were a lot of talks about design systems. It was just another after another. And we were super excited. We read a bunch of just medium and research and articles about it. Everyone seemed like they had figured it out. Everyone had the magic number, the bloody double diamond, the federated teams or centralized teams, or everyone had an answer. So ironically, I'm here to give you another talk about design systems, but I will try not to be as technical as, I will not be as technical. I will be focusing more on what works with us and the only certainties that we have. So there's a lot of uncertainties on what I will share, but we want to really share with you the thing that works for us in our context. Okay, so our journey is divided in eras. Just like Taylor Swift did, we are going to do it too. Our first era is splitting plates, then juggling era, then the balance era, and then I will share with you what works. So, like I said, OutSystems, that's the company we work in. We are about 60 people in the UX group alone. So that includes designers and researchers and developers and lots of people. And our product is a low-code app builder. So we try to accelerate anyone to take great apps for usually very complex scenarios without knowing a lot of high code. So they will use low code to do it. And our design system is Fusion Design System. Here. It's Fusion Design System. And it actually serves a bunch of internal products from OutSystems. We serve about 36 user teams. These are real numbers. We checked them today. This is our reality today. We have 2 themes. We have a bunch of tokens and illustrations. I mean, we're an internal design system, but for a lot of products. And we wanted to keep the same promises that our product does. I mean, we wanted to accelerate everyone's work. We wanted to give all of the promises that the design systems out there were saying they were solving, right? I mean, that's what we wanted. So that was our biggest red flag right there that we did not see. We were putting way too much pressure on what a design system like us could bring, too much pressure. I will share more red flags with you soon. And after many tries, this was the first draft that we had, which probably is how a lot of design systems look right now. 2 visual designers and a front end. Who here is on a design system team, by the way? Who is? Hands up. How are your hands? Okay. I would say 5%. And does your team look anything like this? Kind of? No? Great. Perfect, because we are all different. This was our first draft. And what happened with this very first draft? It was fairly easy to predict. We became just a building factory of components. Teams across our product would say, can you build this component and this component? And we were not reactive. We were just builders. We were just executing what people would say. And even the documentation that we were giving, we didn't even realize that it was clearly meant for us to share with everyone else how the structure was, but our designers in the other teams in our product didn't really need to know all of this anatomy. They needed to know how to use the components that we were doing. So that's when João, our current team manager, took in. that is the moment that João actually became the manager of the design system team at the time. And while he was spinning his plate on this new team, other teams were spinning their own plates. So what we were doing at the time was a federated model. And if you don't know what a federated model is, I will explain. You have a bunch of teams, specialized teams like content teams, interaction teams, front-end teams, design teams like product that they build the product. You have research teams and accessibility teams. You can have a bunch of teams. And the idea of the federated model is everyone works in perfect harmony. Everyone collaborates organically with the design system team, and the design system team organically delivers everything that everyone builds the dream. And it's a really beautiful dream that we tried and we pushed real hard to accomplish. But for us, well, it got tricky. And to explain why it was tricky, I will start by sharing where I was when I started at OutSystems, in the interaction team, of course. So when I was invited to enter the OutSystems team, when I was invited to work, this is the third design system where I've worked in, I was super excited to be called like a specialist, like in my area. Like, I'm a specialist? It really rubbed the ego there. I was invited to be a specialist. And I was in love with the concept of specialized teams, as many of you might be, because I do believe in specialists, and I wanted to learn with the best. Like Paula said, it really is on the identity. It's the moment you realize, wow, I can really grow. I can even go the bar over. But the thing is, it is easy to grow and to mentor someone in a specialized team. I mean, you are among specialists. You are in your niche. So of course, there's a clear path for growth and a lot to learn. And also the outputs are of high quality. I mean, you are among specialists. Of course, everything you do has a deep focus and a lot of time, not to learn, but to do it well. And we did a bunch of cool stuff. Like, we did vision work for showing stakeholders, like designers would come to us and say, hey, can you do something really cool just to show internally, just to see if this project works? We did motion tokens, and we even tried to make them as close as possible with the brand motion design, which was really cool. And we did a bunch of tests and deep research about how transitions would work in navigation for our products. But the reality is, even if we did all of this amazing stuff, very few people were using what we were doing. And that was a really big red flag that we were not seeing at the time. Because the thing is, when you apply these solutions, I mean, they are for the people, right? A flop that I like to share, this is my flop right here, is the prototype library. So basically, I did a whole big Figma of examples on how to use the design system components at the time. So lots of examples, lots of tips, so that any designer would come and know how to make better prototypes for their user testing, for their vision work, like a whole place. And my whole team was like, oh my God, this is so exciting, Mafalda. Do use your work here, use your time here. And I put a lot of time on this. And not everyone used it. And that's the thing when you are among specialists, is when everyone is thinking no one is really thinking. We were just thinking all about our experience, and we weren't even thinking about the experience that other people needed. But it was not only flops. One of the things that we did that worked well was the loading experience. So this was the loading experience at the time. And this one is not lagging. This was the actual experience. I mean, the response is just incredible, right? Nothing is working there. You would just drag something, and there was no feedback. So what we did at the time was we made a little experiment. We did 4 scenarios, which all had different loading. Do you want, in your heads, to try and guess which one was the fastest? OK, I will give you, first off, how this works. They all take the same time. Okay, but the users that we tested, and we tested it with 60 users outside of our company, didn't know that. They would only get 2, and they were asked, how much time do you think this one took? How much time do you think this one took? And do you want to guess which one was the best? Okay, yeah, you're... Okay, it was C, yes. C. And why was it C? I mean, every scenario took 3 seconds, and C was perceived to actually look like it was only taken 2 seconds. I mean, this was actual proof that the loading the way that you load something would work. This is proof that this would make an impact. And this experiment really took off the whole loading experience for our product. We make better spinners, better patterns, and we even made like a whole loading skeleton system, like a system within a system for doing lazy loading. Meanwhile, at the content team, there's also a specialized team, the same thing was happening. So content designers were mostly just doing copy, which was at the time what we wanted them to do, just copy. And David, another one of my colleagues, was system thinking. He was not supposed to, but he really liked it, and he was really good at it. The way that he was trying to help our designers was to create guidelines at the time. And he created specific guidelines for specific components, and they have an enormous adoption because they were done well and because he was able to work with the design system and just spread it out there. In the meantime, all of the great ideas that David was having, he was dumping them in a Miro called Daveland. He still has it. It's like a huge Miro of just these great ideas, and he was just putting them there. And what was happening is, like David, he was system thinking, but he was blocked from the real world. No one was asking him to do that, and he didn't really have the reach to put in practice what he was thinking about. Because the reality is your reach is very limited. Your solutions are very limited to the reach that you have. So what we realized is that these 2 specialized teams had the exact same problem. They were group thinking, because you were among people that think like you, so the feedback is always from someone that thinks like you. There was less user-centered. We were not considering the users, which for us is the designers in the corporation. We were not really thinking about them. And low reach, which was limiting whatever you were bringing. But one thing that both of these specific teams had in common is their best successes was when they were collaborating with the design system. So we were clearly out of balance, meanwhile, in the design system, right? They were building, while we at the specific teams were, just also building, but they weren't being used. And this was the moment of truth. I mean, what we needed was to accept that we were out of balance so that João could swoop in and come with his vision of a diverse team. There it is. Because the thing with diversity is that it's the art of thinking independently, but together. This goes according to what Bruno was saying about having smaller teams, of having more diverse teams. It was also mentioned by João. I mean, we all came to the same conclusion after all, it appears. And I don't want to sell you this perfect world where, yes, that's what we will do. We'll gather a team and it will be perfect. The reality is, until we came to this conclusion, there was a lot going on. I mean, I was not super sure I wanted to be on the design system team. David still had a lot of compromises to do with content team. He still was doing copy. We had a designer that went out and a new designer coming in. And Sophia, our developer, joined way later. We were 6 months without a UX engineer in the team. I mean, and we've been through a lot of reorgs, and we also been through layoffs. I mean, who here has been through a reorg in the last year? Right? Okay, who has witnessed layoffs most recently? Okay, there's a few of us, yeah. So it's the new reality. And of course, we've been through that, and it really affects the way that the team came to be. So what happened when we were focused, when we had a UX engineer in our team? Sophia, brought a whole new perspective to us. focus on dev experience. Because Sophia was a developer for a long time within our company that was working among other developers. And she brought this idea of, the videos aren't working, but it's okay. And she brought this idea of, let's test with developers. Let's see how they will react with the components before we launch the components. Not just test with designers, but also test with developers. And that really helped even in naming conventions. Sophia brought this whole concept of like how naming convention was really important for developers, something that it wasn't really on our radar. And just a bunch of other stuff that we wouldn't never realized if we hadn't had her close in our team. She really helped us bridging the gap between us and the developers. I mean, developers, you really need a buy-in sometimes to talk with developers. There are developers who are super great connectors. Sophia is an amazing connector, and she was able to really talk the talk with developers and bring their concept to us. And this was, for us, the first green flag that we had. Pair working was becoming our strength. Every time that me and Sophia worked, or Sophia and David worked, things were starting to really appear. I mean, we were seeing the stripes of having a diverse team. If you know Steven Universe, this was our Garnet moment. If you don't, go check it out. It's a pretty cool cartoon. Okay, so pair work from a developer and a designer. Token, I mean, this one is obvious, right? I mean, tokens are a really cool thing that should not be in Figma only. If you need to have themes and, I don't mean just light theme and dark theme. I mean, if you want to have like a pink theme, if you want to have like a new branding ideas, you need tokens. And she really helped us putting it together with GitHub and do the whole thing with Token Studio so that we could easily on Figma use Token Studio and go from dark theme to light theme without any worries. It was super cool. Another thing, another pair work, so content designer, David, with a developer, with Sophia. Finally, system thinking went out, and it went full on object-oriented UX. I will not go deep into object-oriented UX today. It's a super cool thing that we now approach, but I'll give you one example of his work. So he basically gathers product designers and has these concepts, right? Object, attribute, actions, nested objects, unique content, and asks designers, hey, let's think about it on this screen. What do you consider are actions? What do you consider are objects or attributes? And the designers, like, they slow down and they think about, you're right. I can see that this is an object and this is an attribute, which there's a huge difference. And this really helped our navigation. What should be a tab? What should be a menu item? And many other things in the UI. So metrics. David had finally found a way for us to measure metrics with not just random numbers, like really look into metrics of our design system. And we actually did user testing also, lots of user testing, to see what would be the impact of the design system. And so we came up with impact, usage, and coverage, also from seeing other people doing it, and that's how we measure the success of our design system today. So another green flag, looks like we stopped seeking validation, but we started doing a lot more user testing. Well, so we stopped doing work on like silots, and then 1 month later do a huge design critique where we would have 20 people and ask them, like, do you think this works? I've never seen this before, I guess. And we started doing like constant user testing, like you designers, you developers are the users. What do you think? Does this work for you? Show me. Another pair work that came from developer and interaction, that was me and Sophia, is motion specs. I talked about this at Layers last year, but basically it's a way for developers to really use in Figma to really see how the interaction is supposed to be in their own speed, in their own way, without having to play back and forth to try and figure out how something is supposed, and have all the properties that they are supposed to do with our motion tokens, time and ease. Documentation that mattered to designers and developers. So we started to teach our developers how to read Figma. I know this sounds obvious, but some of them don't. And even when dev mode came out, a lot of them at the time were like, what? What's dev mode? What is this? And in a lot of companies, there's no dev mode. Not everyone has money to buy dev mode, and that's okay. So we really started to invest in a way that developers could read the specs from Figma. And we also started to do cool stuff for the area of, it's too long, I didn't read it, documentation. No one wants to read I do. But most people don't like to read pages and pages and pages of how to do things. They want it right now. So we started to do internal videos to share our new components, to share our releases, and to share some just cool tools between us. And also we invested on a platform, a preview platform that is an internal tool. Well, anyone, a designer or developer, can actually, is it? No, it's okay. Where a designer and a developer can just come here and actually play with the properties that a component has. This is like an inline stack. It's kind of like a little piece that developers have in our code to do kind of what auto layout does for Figma. So again, we are low code internally also. So now we have this cool thing that they can use to explore, and that designers can also understand the part of the code without really needing to get into the code. They just go here and say, I want you to do this. Can you do this? Yes, we can. We can do it. Okay, so also branding. Okay, branding was super huge for us. Because we were a diverse team, we finally paused and had time to do a branding for us. We called us Fusion, we did a logo. No one's going to do it for us. We're an internal design system team. But having a brand and having a website for us, it really put the team together, we are something. And that's, I think, the power of branding also for teams. I see a lot of companies where there's Team Alpha, there's Team, Snow, or just Team Donut, just cool names, think of cool names. And that really gives power to that team. Even doing just a little logo that represents them, it just helps a team to feel like something within a huge corporation. You're not just another wheel. You are a team. And even in our home, in our website, we put the metrics that David helped us build. So now you have this Fusion impact calculator so that teams can come here and actually measure how much money they are saving if they are using our design system. It's super cool. Okay, so another green flag, daily doses of diverse feedback. And what I mean by this is, we were getting constant feedback, but it was not just from specialist to specialist. Our teammates are now specialists on another area. So it's not that we are generalists. We still are specialists in our area. We are senior specialists. But because we are daily working together, we are daily working, giving syncs. Hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? It's the kind of interaction that you can only have in small teams. And that's what we have by being a diverse one. Okay, so if you know Steven Universe, this is the time where I'm going to show you a full-blown collaboration work that we did for us. Thank you, someone knows Steven Universe. Okay, so here's a real use case. We all work together. There was this thing that we had, which were screen templates. And as you can guess, no one was using them. And we're like, why? Why isn't no one using our screen templates that have different device sizes to build different screens for different sizes with common use cases and so on? We really wanted responsive, to speed up a notch. Like we were getting end user reviews of, I want to do split work, and so I need it to be smaller. I want to use vertical screens, so I need it to be smaller. I want to deploy something on mobile, so I need it to be smaller. And when we did an audit for it, we had a bunch of screens that were just like full of mistakes. Like, what is happening? So we paused and we listened to our users. Before jumping in, we stopped and asked why. We wanted to do meaningful work. We are not going to jump into what we think the solution is. Let's understand why the current solution isn't working before just spending months just doing something. So this was one of the feedbacks that we got. I've used the screen templates as a starting point because they have all the basic structure, but mostly I just copied screens similar to mine. Can you guess if this was a designer or a developer? I trick question you, it's both. It's both. Both had this feedback because developers were also copying each other's screens because it was just easier, and they would just delete stuff that they didn't care, and that's how they did it. Same with designers on Figma. They would not create new designs, they would just copy each other's designs. So if something was wrong on someone else's Figma, like deprecated or just wrong, no one would, it would just get copied nonstop. Detaching, of course. And we had to agree with this, like, everyone detaches, even I detach. Why? Like, this is a constant feedback that we were getting, and it's okay. And I'm not sure how to use screen sizes, and no one is asking for them. And I think this one is a big part of why are we doing stuff? Are we doing stuff because someone asks us to? We're designers. Aren't we supposed to be the ones that step up and say, we really need responsive? But the thing is, we have product managers and product owners, and no one was asking for responsive because there was no clear feedback that it would work. Okay, so we understand that the problem wasn't screen templates. It was the way that we were approaching it. It needed to be an extra level in our process. It wasn't like another component to be used. It needed to be something else, something above everything else. So what we did was we created layouts for developers and templates for designers. So templates are Figma templates, of course, and layouts are the structure that the developers would use. And the idea would be that one layout would work out in a bunch of scenarios. So this was our idea. And because we did an audit on all the scenarios that we have on our internal products, what we did was we made the 80% easy, the scenarios that you just duplicate and duplicate. Like, forms, like everything has a form. Everything has this kind of easy screen. So that's easy, so that the other 20%, when you are creating something new, a new screen, a new user scenario, that's the moment that you need to have time to do user testing and be innovative. So templates were supposed to do that. And because we had a dev experience, because we knew that's important, we made the effort of making the placeholders on the layout for developers with the same name convention that we did on Figma for our templates. So that when a developer would come to the Figma, they would know where things were supposed to go, and a designer would also be able to understand the screen of a developer. Okay, so we had to ask ourselves, but are we still an enablement team? And what we realized was, no, we were a full-blown product. Design systems are supposed to be a product. Designers and developers are supposed to be our users. And that shift of mindset really made us own it. It really made us realize that we're not here to help people. We are here to bring value to our users. And so that's it. We are in perfect balance. Everything is great. The world, that's it. The balance area, it's here. So what now? Do we just stay here forever? Of course not. And to give a final note about what we learned, I will share with you something that I learned on the book a long time ago, which is loonshots. And Sevi is a physicist. And as a physicist, he made a really cool metaphor about balance. So 0 Celsius or 32 Fahrenheit, you know, if you're into those numbers, it's it's the tipping point where water can be both liquid and solid. It's the tipping point of having water and ice. And this is what we would call a perfect balance. And that would be for a team, for a company, and for big corporations. This is where you're supposed to be. Why? Because if it's a too rigid environment, ideas don't have space to flow. It just becomes too bureaucratic. It just slows down everything. And it's also important because you need ice, you need solid things that are bringing revenue to your company. You need solid stuff that your team is supposed to continue to deliver, but it's not supposed to be too rigid. So if it feels like that, you might be a little bit under. And if you are feeling that you are in a team or in a corporation that's too chaotic, that everything is changing so fast, everything is so pasted, you don't really have time to breathe, it might be too hot. So, I mean, in reality, I think it's all about the vibes. You have to feel like it's impossible to be always on 0 Celsius, right? But it's important to realize that for some teams, it makes sense to be chaotic. For some teams, it's supposed to be rigid. But the balance, sometimes it's on the context. Sometimes the company might have like little lab teams where it's supposed to be creative and innovative, and have like smaller teams, more rigid teams that are supposed to just keep on going and maintenance what's bringing the money, right? And even in your own team, you're supposed to try and balance that out. And so I'm going to give you a sum up of all of the things you learned, because I'm sure you don't remember all the red flags and green flags that I just shared with you. So I'm going to give you a slide that you can take a picture with all of them together. Isn't that nice? Okay, so how do we know if we are losing balance? How do you know if you are losing balance? So look for the red flags. Is there too much pressure for speed and results? Stop. Ask why. Why are we doing this, please? Few people are using the solutions you built. I mean, it's a really big red flag if you are doing stuff that are for you instead of doing things that are serving a purpose. And system thinkers have no reach. You have people that have this amazing potential, and they are not having the reach and the attention that they're supposed to have. Big red flag right there, loss of potential. Okay, so for putting together a diverse design system team, whatever journey you are, you might be a lead, you might be a teammate, one day maybe you will be on a design system team. Maybe you never want to be, but here's the things that we came up. Try to look for people that are system thinkers. Try to look for people that are problem solvers, good at documentation writers. Like these are people that have the mental models and the capacity to explain something in ways that other people might understand, and they actually enjoy writing, like me. Okay, great connections and communicators, soft skills. We've talked about this on all of the talks before. Soft skills are really a super important thing for a diverse design system team, because you are the connectors for a bunch of other teams in your company, small or big. So you really need to be a connector to bring stuff. Because diversity is being invited to the party and inclusion is being asked to dance, it doesn't only matter if your team is balanced in terms of roles. It matters if those roles that the people that you invited are actually working together. Otherwise, you just put a bunch of people at a party with different specializations that are just holding a cup like this and have no way of interacting with their colleague. It's awkward for everyone. So for building a happy team that actually collaborates and just actually does a lot of work, establish a team identity, logos, websites, I don't know, just having a t-shirt with a name, it really helps branding themselves. Rituals for multidisciplinary collaboration. So it's not that you are micromanaging, but maybe just ask people 15 minutes a week what they are doing. Just every day ask, or just 2 times, 3 times a week, like what you are doing, at what time at what stage are your projects? Do you have any blockers for me that I can take off your back? Start with pair work before big collaborations. Big collaborations can be a little bit overwhelming, so do start just suggesting pair work to each other and be flexible. Just let people explore. And I mean this by, I think flexibility is one of the greatest strengths that a person can have. If you are not flexible, you break. But if you are flexible, nothing can just break your spirit. There's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can adapt to. And people really need that flexibility to explore new ways and just, be themselves and bring their potential, their strengths into a project. So, if you see these green flags, you are on the right way. People autonomously start to do meaningful pair work. You don't even suggest them to be. Even you as a teammate, you actually start to pair up with people. You start to pair up with your close colleagues. And I think that's why a small team is the way to go. Because no one can collaborate with 50 people. We were not meant to collaborate with 50 people at the same time. It ends up being the closest person that you have. It's usually the person you're going to be confident to share your work. So if you see more user testing and less validation sessions, you are in the right way. Because it's not about, does it look nice? You think you do like it? You think it will work? I don't know, I think it will work, yeah. No, it's about actually do user testing. Like put people to the test. I've seen user testing for things that I've never thought would need user testing within our organization. Everything can be tested. Everyone can be a user, depending on the context. And if people are sharing their work easily, if they feel confident, even to share the crazy ideas, even to share the failures, because a lot of people don't have the courage to share their failures. A lot of people really need that sharing moment. I've been working this for a month, do you like it? That's a big red flag. That means that person didn't feel comfortable sharing it on the baby stage. And if someone shares it on the baby stage, it's so much better because people get involved and it's not the here it is, it's the wow, I remember how this was at this stage. I did not blame you and shame you for how horrible it looked because I was in the journey, I was in the process, and people start to really feel comfortable just sharing their work naturally. So while there are no forever solutions, and I really mean this, as I am ending this presentation, there's nothing I can tell you that might work in the next months or 5 years or 10 years. It depends on the context. It depends. It's our favorite sentence as a designer. It depends. But it really does. And that's why I mean it's really about the vibes. If you're feeling too cold, too chaotic, or if you're feeling too rigid, too stuck on processes, too stuck on the ways that you do things, try to go to the 0 Celsius. That's where you will find your balance. But whatever you do, and this, I believe it will be true for all the near future, I believe innovation lies in diversity. Thank you.